Broadcasting from beautiful downtown Tallahassee, it's Nantan Lupan at the Drive-In.
I didn't expect much when I began watching this movie, but it's a pretty solid piece of science fiction. I was originally drawn to watch this movie because it starred Hugh Marlowe, one of the great actors of black and white science fiction. We are linking off an actor that was uncredited in this film, Strother Martin from episode 17, Hard Times, 1975. The title of the film comes from an Anglican doxology, Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Ghost, as it was in the beginning, and now and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. This film was produced by Allied Artists, formerly Monogram Pictures. They hoped to shed their third-rate image. This film had a large budget, was shot in color, and had CinemaScope. The movie opened on a double bill with The Indestructible Man, 1956. Hugh Marlowe was cast as John Borden, one of four modern 1957 explorers from Earth to Mars. Born in Pennsylvania, Marlowe had a radio, stage, and film career. I will confine myself to just the films at this point. Marlowe's first film was Married Before Breakfast, 1937. His films include Meet Me in St. Louis, 1944, 12 O'Clock High, 1949, as a critical character of this fine story, along with Gregory Peck, All About Eve, 1950, Night in the City, 1950, The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951, Rawhide, 1951, Howard Hawks' Monkey Business, 1952, Earth versus the Flying Saucer as the lead Earth scientist, Elmer Gantry, 1960, Birdman of Alcatraz, 1962, and 7 Days in May, 1964. When Marlowe's film days were over, he was on the soap opera Another World from 1969 until his death in 1982 at the age of 71. Nancy Gates was in the role of Garnet. Is that a stripper name? Anyway, Garnet was a smoking hot, subterranean, post-apocalyptic human. Nancy Gates was born in 1926 in Texas. She entered show business at an early age when she signed a contract with RKO Studios when she was just 15. Her first film was Hitler's Children, 1943. Gates was in two other films in 1942, The Great Gildersleeve and The Magnificent Ambersons. Gates was busy the next year with Gildersleeve's Bad Day, 1943, Behind the Rising Sun, 1943, and This Land Is Mine, 1943. By 1949, she stopped starring in movies until she was 26. In 1949, she stopped starring in movies until she was 26 years old. Beginning in 1952, Nancy acted in Target Hong Kong, 1953, Suddenly, 1954, Some Came Running, 1958, and Comanche Station, 1960. Nancy left acting to be with her family. She had 34 films on her dossier, along with a host of television appearances. Nelson Leigh played the leader of the Earth expedition, Dr. Eldon Galbraith. IMDb and Wiki both say that he was born in Mississippi, but they don't say where. That covers a lot of ground. Is it like being born in New York? In his career, he had 130 acting credits, with most of them being on television. Besides World Without End, 1956, he had roles in The Gunfight at the OK Corral, 1957, and The Pilgrim's Play, 1949. He died in 1985. Rod Taylor was the third member of the Earth crew, Herbert Ellis. Okay, I'm used to watching Rod Taylor in his smoking jacket running around in his time machine. This movie showed what a manly actor this Australian really was. Taylor came to Hollywood in the 50s and began working his way up with supporting roles. This led to his casting as George H.G. Wells in The Time Machine, 1960. A strong case could be made that this was indeed his best film. He was also cast as the male lead in Hitchcock's thriller The Birds, 1963, Sunday in New York, 1963 with Jane Fonda, The Train Robbers, 1973 with John Wayne, The Catered Affair, 1956 with Bette Davis, and 36 Hours, 1964, playing a Nazi opposite James Garner. It is odd to consider that the estate of H.G. Wells sued the production company, claiming that this film was similar to The Time Machine, and 4 years later Rod Taylor got the lead when that story was made into a movie. Taylor never became the star he should have been. In the late 60s and early 70s, he started getting B or less movies. He tried his hand at television with no luck. A large number of people felt that his greatest work was a leading role in an Australian production titled The Picture Show Man, 1977, about a sideshow that brings moving pictures to the Australian outback. Shirley Patterson was cast as underground future Earth woman Elaine. Patterson, born in Canada, was a B-movie actress during the 40s and 50s. This former beauty queen signed a contract with Columbia Pictures around the beginning of World War II. Her career included 40 movies, 50 episodes of a Batman serial, and a little television. Her last two movies were The Land Unknown, 1957, and The Terror from Beyond Space, 1958. Lisa Montell played the role of Dina, a civilized surface dweller. IMDb states she is smolderingly beautiful and a fetching, exotic-eyed vision. Yeah, I'm okay with that description. She was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1933, but her family moved to Fifth Avenue in New York prior to the Nazi invasion of Poland. Montell attended performing arts schools while in New York. The family moved to Lima, Peru in 1953, where Montell was cast in her first film, Daughter of the Sun God, 1962. The film was so badly shot it took 10 years before it was released in America. While working in other films, she was noticed by Hollywood. When her father died, Montell and her mother moved to L.A. She worked as almost every ethnicity except her own. In all, she had around 15 movie roles, but quit acting in around 1962 to concentrate on her Baha'i faith. You can look it up. I had to. It's a monotheistic religion that came out of Persia and respects all other religions. Go figure. Christopher Dark was cast as the fourth member of the Old Earth crew, Henry Hank Jaffe. Dark was an American actor known mostly for his television work. Booth Colman played the role of Maurice, the future Earth underground heavy. Ironically, he was the male most like the old Earthmen. Colman served in the Japanese language division during World War II. He went right to the New York stage after the war, and by 1951, he was on his way to Hollywood. His first film was The Big Sky, 1952. By the end of his career, he had almost 200 films and television credits, and was active in the theater for the entire time. Everett Glass was cast as Timmock, leader of the future underground humans. Glass had over 80 films and television credits from the 1940s through the mid-60s. One of the most well-known films he appeared in was Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956. Stanley Fraser played the role of Elda, another underground future Earthman. In addition to World Without End, 1956, he had minor roles in The Maze, 1953, My Fair Lady, 1964, and 12 O'Clock High, 1949. He died in 1983 with 23 acting credits. Strother Martin had a small uncredited role as Nitka. He can be seen clearly during the capture scene. Also, director Sam Peckinpah was uncredited as the dialogue director of this movie. Story. The movie starts out with an atomic explosion as the beginning credits roll. Being of a certain age, I assume this was an open-air test that later caused the problem with the spaceship. A group of military men are trying to contact rocket ship XRM. They are worried that something has gone wrong. They use this time to introduce the young family of one of the four travelers. Switching back to the rocket, radio man Herbert Ellis, Rod Taylor, tells Dr. Galbraith, Nelson Leigh, that the ship has lost contact with Earth when they entered Mars's magnetic field. The doc asks John Borden, Hugh Marlowe, to check Mars on the viewer screen. They see a lot of green but can't make out what it is. Of course, it's vegetation growing around the canals, but that's another story. The doc orders Henry Jaffe, Christopher Dark, to plot a course back to Earth. As the ship leaves orbit, it accelerates to super speed, pinning the four-man crew to their chairs. When they wake up, the ship is on the side of a snow-capped mountain. Since they were orbiting Mars when the problem occurred, they figure they are near one of the Martian poles. But Borden is no slouch. He realizes that the gravity is 1, and the atmosphere is 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.9 argon, and 0.03 carbon dioxide. No, not Mars, but where? So they open the hatch and head outside. They find out that the control surfaces of their spaceship are damaged. You know, the parts that make you go up and down. Also, the radiation count is 3 times too high for Earth, so it clearly must be some other place. Nothing comes in on the radio. They load up their cold weather gear, food, and 38 police specials and head down to the valley. As they hike for a while, they decide to rest, and one of the guys wanders into a nearby cave. He stands there looking at a giant spider web, wondering what could have made it, until a giant spider jumps on him. The other fellows drive it off with their guns, and a second spider attack. Everyone makes it out okay, but I was sure that Jaffe, the guy with the kids, was going to buy it. Not so. They make it further down the mountain and make a camp for the night. After dark, they are attacked by mutant cavemen that are cycloptic and deformed. They beat the attack back with no losses. The next morning, they realize they are on Earth when they find a cemetery. They look on the stones for dates and realize they have traveled in time from 1957, a year after the movie was released, until at least 2188. They give a good explanation of time dilution near the speed of light, something that most everyone knows now, except politicians. The doc also correctly postulates that there has been a nuclear war. They see a column of smoke in the distance and manly man Borden goes to investigate. He is jumped by the mutated cavemen, but with the help of his friends and the Second Amendment, they make it clear with no casualties. They take shelter in a cave, which seems odd because there are giant frickin' spiders living in caves. While looking around the cave, they find a shiny metallic door. As soon as they find the door, another slides down, closing the front of the cave. The interior door opens, and with no options, they decide to go in. They go down a hall and find a room where a voice tells them to leave their weapons and gear behind. When they do, they are ushered into a council room. The men that enter the room are wearing shimmering clothes and skull caps, but not the kind we have now. Theirs flop in front of their ears and came all the way down in the back. Timmick, Everett Glass, says he is the leader of the underground future humans. The old Earthmen explain how they arrived, and Timmick explains that they have been living underground since the horrible war.
Armageddon. The slaughter of humanity. An atomic war no one wanted, but which no one had the wisdom to avoid.
And that they know of no other humans. The council is very concerned about the guns and decide to keep the weapons locked away. Timmick also tells them that the year is AD 2508. Garnet, Nancy Gates, who is Timmick's daughter, enters the room, rocking stilettos and a mini, and takes the four explorers to eat. Garnet then introduces another smartly dressed lass, Elaine, Shirley Patterson. Elaine is Elda's, Stanley Fraser's assistant. Elaine quickly makes an offer to show the crew anything they want.
How do you do?
Elaine is Elda's assistant in the scientific section.
Elda sends his greetings. At your convenience, he would be pleased to show you our power plants, our laboratories, anything else you wish to see.
The doc wants to know why they haven't retaken the surface, and Garnet says her people are tired of war. The doc then sees a serving girl, Dina, Lisa Montell, in a little I Dream of Jeannie outfit, and asks about her. Garnet says she is from the surface and was rejected by the cavemen for being too normal. Herbert pokes fun at her, thinking she cannot understand what they are saying, but she can and leaves in a huff. Four men bed down for the night and pretty quickly accept they have come on a one-way trip. Jaffe and Borden talk, and Borden believes that living underground has made the men weak and it will destroy them in time. The next morning, the council denies the doc's request to repair the ship and look for other humans. When Garnet finds Borden alone, she's all over him like, well, a stripper. On his less exciting tour, Jaffe finds out about declining birth rates in the human colony. Later, Garnet and Borden are interrupted by Maurice, Booth Colman, and Maurice is showing that old green monster. I'm talking about jealousy, not little green men. Now, Maurice is the bad guy in this movie, but oddly, he is the one new human that acts like an old human. Anyway, Garnet explains that Maurice expected to marry her when he became leader of the council. Herbert tries to apologize to Dina, but she is not having it. When Borden and Galbraith return, they concur that the underground humans have lost their will and desire to explore new boundaries. Garnet and Borden go on a date, and she uses a tunnel to take him outside. Isn't that where the cavemen monsters are? I was sure someone was going to get whacked, or at least kidnapped. But it was just good old kissy face and declarations of love. The old Earthmen keep working on Dina, and she finally accepts their apology.
Now, honey, don't look at me like that.
Wait a minute, Dina. We want to help you. We want to help your people if we can. All your people are not beasts, are they? You're pretty, Dina.
You are, Dina, I swear it.
But he said that my legs were...
Oh, forgive me, honey. So help me, I didn't mean it.
She admits she has a thing for Herbert. With the failing population, the old Earthmen come up with a plan. With their weapons and help from the subterranean Earthmen, they could start driving the surface dwellers back and reclaim the surface. That old pain-in-the-ass Morris has been spying on the old Earthmen. He is jealous about Garnet, so he runs to the council and tells them that the old Earthmen are planning on getting their guns and enslaving the new Earthmen. The council buy it hook, line, and sinker. While the old Earthmen are being lied about at the council, Dina tells the old Earthmen that there are more like her and they are enslaved by the cavemen. The doc goes to the council but is shut down hard because of the tale Morris has spread. But Morris can't stop there. The threat to his woman is too much. He sneaks into where the guns are hidden and clunks the councilman on the head, accidentally killing him. He takes the gun and places them in the old Earthmen's quarters, but is seen doing this by Dina. I guess the old Earthmen were not at home because they were out taking advantage of the strippers. I mean the new Earthwomen. Dina sees Herbert kissing another woman and she has a cow. Council finds the dead guy and goes to the old Earthmen's quarters and quickly finds the guns hidden under the sheets. They arrest all of the Earthmen, and this is the part where Strother Martin shows up. They drag the old Earthmen to the council where they tell them that they will be given their weapons and supplies before they are tossed out with the cavemen. Dina remains silent. But Dina's not a hater, so she goes to Timmock to tell the truth.
I must see Timmock.
I'm sorry. He is not to be disturbed. This has been an ordeal to him.
He must see me. I know who hid the weapons.
The weapons? I will tell him. Will you wait here?
As she is waiting to be admitted, Morris comes in and clunks her in the head. The guards chase him and he runs outside to the waiting cavemen, who quickly do him in. After they are vindicated, the old Earthmen get about 20 new Earthmen to help and begin working on weapons. They finally end up with a bazooka. Dina tells them that leadership is based on strength, and if they can conquer the head man, the rest will be easy. They take the bazooka outside and fire it towards an ambush location.
That passage there, it's got ambush written all over it. Let's find out.
Right you are, my boy. See if this little old gadget works, huh?
The cavemen go running in every direction, and they capture one that is not a mutant. The captive tells Dina that the leader will take his people back to the cave, where they will be killed if the Earthmen attack. They find the hiding place of the cavemen, and Jaffe scouts ahead. He no longer cares about living, knowing that his family is dead. Jaffe is speared by a caveman, but Herbert beats him back and rescues Jaffe. They have Dina yell a message to the caveman leader.
Naga! Naga! Ube maluk! Ube badulo malor!
Naga! Yasta! Kunzaapa! Naga! Dagis!
And they agree to single combat between the caveman leader and Borden. They fight with axes and knives, but the old Earthman is too good and kills the caveman leader. The rest of the tribe submits. The scene jumps to the future where the new Earthmen are no longer living underground. The remaining cavemen are being integrated, as shown by a renewed Jaffe teaching the school-age kids. The movie ends as everyone agrees that it's the rebirth of civilization.
What we're looking at may well be the rebirth of the human race.
World-famous short summary. 4 men take a trip and find some dapper new friends. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Remember, you can find all of the links at snarkymoviereviews.com, and I appreciate those reviews in iTunes.